What if I told you this could be your brand? I'm going to show you 3 simple and totally free methods to land major media coverage in publications like The Evening Standard, OK Magazine, and The Mirror. Yeah, you heard that right. These techniques won't cost you a penny, and if you stick around to the end, I'm going to show you a secret tool that you can use to stay a step ahead when it comes to getting media coverage. Hey, I'm Veronica, and I've been featured in hundreds of the world's biggest publications like CNN, The Guardian, and CBS News, and I did it all myself on a shoestring budget, no agencies involved. I'm also the co-founder of JournoFinder, a lightweight media database that makes it easy to connect with journalists who want to feature your brand. When I first started out in digital PR, I started with what I knew, huge data campaigns that took me days to put together. Some worked, but some didn't, which made it hard to stay motivated. Then I discovered reactive PR, and it was a game changer. My first reactive campaign took me less than 2 hours to pull together, and the same day I had links in Newsweek, the Daily Mail, and The Sun. First up, what exactly is reactive PR? If you haven't heard of reactive PR, also known as newsjacking, it's when businesses piggyback off trends which are already getting coverage in the news and make their brands part of that conversation. Reactive PR is low effort, free, and anyone can do it, no matter how big or small your business is. Here's how it works. First, you spot an emerging trend or story in the news or on social media. Then you respond to that trend, and I'll cover how later, and pitch your response to the journalists. Then they'll publish your response online and credit you with a link in the article. Reactive PR works because it taps into the media's need for timely, relevant content. The story you piggyback off has already proven itself as newsworthy. So if you provide something genuinely useful that's related to the story, journalists will want to feature you. And if you want to learn more about what makes an idea newsworthy, check out this video where we reveal the secret framework journalists use to decide if a story is worth covering or not. The key to success with reactive PR? Speed. You need to react quickly enough. Trends don't stay relevant for very long, and it can be hard to secure coverage for a topic once it loses momentum. Here's the life cycle of a typical news trend. You want to insert yourself into the conversation once the news has gained some traction, so you can be sure it's newsworthy, but before the peak of the coverage, because you want to be involved in that peak. After the peak, you'll see diminishing returns because audiences will be losing interest and journalists will be moving on to the next big thing. Okay, now we've covered what reactive PR is, let's walk through the 3 ways you can respond to breaking news. For each of these methods, I'm going to tell you why journalists love them, a real-world example of how it's been used to get links, and how you can replicate the same success. The first method of responding to a trending news topic: expert commentary. Expert commentary is where you provide unique insights or opinions on a trending news story, positioning yourself as an expert source for journalists. It works because it saves the journalists from having to source third-party quotes themselves. See a new travel hack going viral on TikTok and own a travel-related business? You can provide your opinion on the hack as a travel expert. Got a nutritionist qualification or a food-related business? You can provide your thoughts on the latest diet fad. Or, in this example from Mark Roth, who is the owner of the digital PR newsletter, which we've linked below, he used his clients' finance expertise to get them links in the Daily Mail, Evening Standard, Retail Wire, and more. Mark noticed this headline in the news: hundreds of jobs at risk as Ted Baker calls in administrators. Administration means problems with finance. Mark's client, ABC Finance, was perfectly positioned to respond to this story. He decided to respond with an expert quote from Gary Hemming, who works as the director at ABC Finance. The quote was Gary giving some simple thoughts on what had led Ted Baker to be in the position they were currently facing. It was sent to less than 50 journalists and picked up some great links. You might be wondering, how would you find those 50 journalists? The quickest and easiest way is to use a media database like JournoFinder. Using JournoFinder, you can search for Ted Baker administration and instantly see a list of journalists who have already covered the topic, so you know they're interested in it. You can add these journalists to a media list and within minutes have a download of their contact information. Then you can cast your net a bit wider and search for journalists who have previously covered stories about other companies' administrations. This example shows a business commenting on a news headline, but you can also provide expert commentary on things like TikTok trends or viral videos. Expert commentary is great, But method number 2, search trends, is even simpler. When a new trend springs up, it's often accompanied by an increase in people searching for things related to that trend. If you can identify these searches and the spike in search volume is big enough, You've got a news story you can pitch to journalists. It works because it gives journalists hard data to support their reporting. You can use internal search data if you have access to it, or you can use the publicly available Google Trends search volume data. Here's an example. When Squid Games took over Netflix, everyone wanted to dress up as one of the characters for Halloween, and an online shoe store spotted a huge increase in searches on their site for white slip-on Vans, the shoe of choice in Squid Games, and they turned it into a headline. The Squid Game costume effect. White slip-on Vans spiked 7,800% since the series premiere. Bam! Links in places like Variety, The Independent, and Screen Rank. The key with this more data-led method is to make sure your statistic is shocking enough. If the search volume for Vans had only gone up 10%, it wouldn't be headline-worthy. Finding search trends requires a bit of detective work, but what if there was a way to make journalists come directly to you? That's where our third method, journo requests, comes in. Journalists are always looking for credible sources to quote in their stories, and one of the ways they find these sources is by putting out what are called journo requests. You'll see these requests on social media under hashtag journo request or hashtag PR request, asking for experts to weigh in on a topic. Here's a quick example. Morning, I'm looking for a personal trainer to discuss body types, hashtag journo request. If you're a personal trainer, you could reply to that request, highlighting your credentials and sharing a quick tip about understanding different body types. Then you could offer to provide more information if the journalist is interested. Now the big question, how do you find these journo requests? There are dedicated platforms out there such as Quoted or Featured, but these are paid, and we're all about keeping things free and accessible. A great free option is Journo Requests by JournoFinder. The tool pulls together journo requests from all over the web, and it will alert you within a few minutes when a request pops up that matches your area of expertise. To get started, head on over to journofinder.com/journo request alerts. Type in your area of expertise and you'll see a list of recent requests that are a match. From there, you can set up alerts to be notified whenever a new relevant request appears. And if you respond to a request, remember to stand by for a reply. You don't want to miss that email when it comes in. So now you're armed with 3 free methods to start landing media coverage for your business. But I also promised a bonus tip, something extra to give you an edge. And here it is, the Google Trends Trending Now dashboard. This ridiculously underused gem is the best thing out there for discovering emerging stories before they go mainstream. By monitoring sudden spikes in search behavior, it lets you spot newsworthy topics early enough for you to craft a response while the story is still gaining momentum. Here's an example. I set the country to UK and straight away you can see there were potential stories breaking this day about an EasyJet emergency landing, changes to selling a home, and TV licenses. These are all things that you could potentially respond to. If you have a real estate business, you could respond to the changes about selling a home. Or imagine that you found searches for Netflix spiked after the news about TV license payments. Now you know how to find trending topics and respond to them. The next step is finding the right journalist to pitch to. Watch our video on building a media list that actually gets responses to learn how to find these journalists. See you there!